On this episode of China Uncensored, Donald Trump and the One China policy. Hi, welcome to China Uncensored. I'm your host, Chris Chappell. Did you hear what President Trump did? Okay, let me narrow that down a bit. Did you hear what President Trump did specifically with regards to the One China policy? He called the entire thing into question. Oh, no, sorry. That was from 2 months ago. I meant to talk about the latest development. He agreed to uphold the One China policy. How dare he do the same thing every U.S. president has done since the 1970s? So, what does this mean? Well, according to the analysts in this New York Times article, this proves that Trump is a weak leader. Look, I know how it goes. You're supposed to write an article about what experts think about Trump's decision. You're in Beijing on deadline, and no one's answering your calls, so you end up with an article with 8 paragraphs of quotes from 2 Chinese professors who are more than willing to talk about how the U.S. is weak. Unfortunately, that plays right into the Communist Party's hands. You see, according to this Pentagon study on China, 3 warfares, the party specifically uses media warfare to shape international public opinion on China and psychological warfare to foment anti-leadership sentiments. But that's a whole nother episode. Anyway, what actually happened with Trump and the One China policy? First, a brief recap of the One China policy. Basically, after the Communist Party seized control of China in 1949, the previous Chinese government fled to Taiwan, a government in exile. Both sides claimed they were the true captain.
I'm your captain, Spock, can't you tell? Shoot! Shoot!
And by captain, I mean the legitimate government of China. But rather than shooting, the 2 Chinas came to a collective agreement called the One China policy. Yeah, there's only one China, but we're not going to say whether it's the one in Taiwan or the one in the mainland. Vague diplomatic ambiguity is the key to successful international relations. But it is kind of awkward because it's forced the U.S. and most other countries to have official diplomatic relations with only one of the 2 Chinas. Kind of like when your 2 best friends in elementary school made you pick which one was your real best friend. No, Bobby, you can't have 2 best friends. Pick me or him. Most countries, including the U.S., eventually pick China and not Taiwan. Even though the U.S. still sells weapons to Taiwan every year. But that's a whole nother episode. Anyway, Trump tossed the One China policy into the air in December when he spoke with Taiwanese President Tsai Ing-wen over the phone, the first time a U.S. president has done so since the 70s. Then he further shook the beehive by saying this.
I fully understand the One China policy, but I don't know why we have to be bound by a One China policy unless we make a deal with China, having to do with other things, including trade.
To which Chinese state-run media responded with, he's playing with fire. Western media jumped on Trump for using Taiwan, America's ally, as a bargaining chip with Beijing. Fun fact, Hillary Clinton had also considered using Taiwan as a bargaining chip. So Trump wasn't that different from Clinton here. He was just more confrontational about it. Because if you're the U.S. president, you bargain with Taiwan's future. It's what you do. But last week, President Trump and Chinese leader Xi Jinping had a phone call, and it was, according to the White House, extremely cordial. And since it was over the phone, presumably less awkward than this moment with Japan's Prime Minister.
What is this? Please, look at me.
Anyway, on the call, Trump agreed to honor our One China policy. So Trump dropped his hardline stance. Does this mean that Trump is backing down? Is he caving in? Or is he giving China the upper hand? Or maybe none of those. As J. Michael Cole, editor-in-chief of Taiwan Sentinel, points out, the White House statement says the U.S. will honor our One China policy. As I've pointed out in previous episodes, America's One China policy is a bit different from China's One China policy. America's is that the U.S. acknowledges Beijing's position that there is only one China. Yeah, the U.S. acknowledges that Beijing has that position. It's like me telling these guys, Yes, I acknowledge that you believe you're a superhero. Once again, vague diplomatic ambiguity saves the day. This is a huge win for Chinese leader Xi Jinping, though. This means that instead of fighting with Trump over the one China issue, he has more time to kick back, relax, and continue his life or death struggle to purge his political rivals. In fact, chu-cheng, a professor of political science at National Taiwan University, believes that the United States has been quietly supportive of Xi Jinping over the years and that Donald Trump may, in honoring the one China policy, be reverting to the status quo. Trump? Reverting to the status quo? What's going on in this crazy mixed-up world? Well, lately, the Trump family has been trying to strengthen its China ties. No, not those ties. Before Trump was elected, his son-in-law met with a major Chinese business tycoon to discuss property development. For the Chinese New Year, Ivanka Trump and her 5-year-old daughter paid a visit to the Chinese embassy. Aw, she's scared of the Chinese ambassador. Then Trump's national security advisor hand-delivers a letter from Trump to China's ambassador with New Year's wishes. It said he looks forward to working with President Xi to develop a constructive relationship that benefits both the United States and China. So maybe that U.S.-China war isn't a practical reality just yet. So what do you think of Trump's so-called caving in to the Chinese? Is that what's happening? Leave your comments below. Thanks for watching this episode of China Uncensored. Once again, I'm your host, Chris Chappell. See you next time.